What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into Jets Media. My name is Richie, your host here on Bleacher Report, live on Bleacher Report at the same time and on YouTube. If you guys are on YouTube, the link for this show on Bleacher Report is linked in the chat right now. Definitely come consider the party over on Bleacher Report where the real party is, because we're live here on Bleacher Report every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST, live on the great Bleacher Report app. Let's get straight into business. There's a lot to talk about regarding these New York Jets, as we saw Justin Fields finally talk to the media. When the Jets signed Justin Fields in free agency, it wasn't like the Jets went out there and gave him a whole press conference that everybody was excited about, right? So at the end of the day, the Jets finally get to hear, well, Jets fans rather get to hear from our new quarterback one, and that is Justin Fields. And I feel like Jets fans definitely are excited right now to hear from Justin Fields himself. So big time shout out to Justin Fields, and all things New York Jets will be talked about in this show. So if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, man, definitely consider joining over here on Bleacher Report as we're live on the great Bleacher Report app. Let's get straight into it. The offseason program begins, right? There's a lot to be excited about because finally the first stage of the offseason program is well underway. And like I mentioned, we're going to talk about all things what Justin Fields had to say. We heard from Brendan Stevens, the brand new cornerback that the New York Jets got in free agency. We also heard from newly signed linebacker long-term, Mr. Jamie Sherwood himself, which is exciting, of course. And the Jets are one of the first teams to get the offseason program started because we have a brand new head coach. And I think the Jets getting in the building and seeing Justin Fields walk into the building, and all the people are hyped up of seeing our new quarterback in there. It's awesome. It is awesome. And it just feels like football is right around the corner, as of course we have the NFL draft coming right up, right around the corner, which of course is a very, very good time right now. There's a lot of discussion regarding the New York Jets with who they're going to bring in the first overall pick for this Jets team. We're going to talk about that as well. Justin Fields is definitely going to be a good option for this Jets team to see who they bring in at that number 7th overall pick. And Justin Fields was actually asked right away, like, hey, Justin, who would you want the Jets to bring in with that 7th overall pick? Would you rather have an offensive lineman? Would you rather have a weapon? He's like, yeah, that's above my pay grade. That's above my pay grade. And whoever they bring in, I will be on board with. And I think something that I've noticed about Justin Fields in his press conference right away, the first thing that jumps off to me personally is his humble approach. He definitely has a lot of confidence in himself, which I love, by the way, which is definitely something you want to see from the new Jets quarterback, Justin Fields. I feel like the confidence definitely is something that we want to see from him at this stage. And I just feel like listening to him talk ball got me fired up. I'm not going to lie. And if you guys did not listen to anything that Justin Fields had to say, I do highly recommend it. You guys can check it out on the Jets YouTube channel if you want to go check out what our new quarterback had to say at the podium. All right, so definitely exciting things to be talked about. And he was asked about Aaron Glenn. He said, I think Coach Glenn knows how to take a bad situation and turn it into a good one. And this is interesting to hear because, you know, Justin Fields has a lot of experience with, of course, being with Aaron Glenn, going against him. Right. And I think that's something that us Jets fans need to realize, that he has a lot of experience going up against Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn is somebody that you can definitely look at and say, okay, Aaron Glenn had the game plan against this guy, and he definitely wanted to bring him in as his new quarterback, which I love. I absolutely love that. And I feel like Justin Fields even said, yeah, I mean, my time in Chicago, having to go up against Aaron Glenn multiple times, and he talked about Tanner Engstrand, and I'm excited for Justin Fields being the new quarterback for a lot of different reasons. And a big reason why I'm personally excited the most is I think this is going to be the first time that Justin Fields gets a real opportunity for an offense to be built around him, right? I think that's very unique. I think that his time in Chicago was just a mess because he was thrown out there in the Wolves because Andy Dalton was the starting quarterback his rookie season. He goes down with an injury. Justin Fields was thrown out there in his first game against the Cleveland Browns, and that defense at the time, the Cleveland Browns, was ferocious and absolutely dominated Justin Fields in that game and was never really fit for success in Chicago. And the Bears tried, but I think the Bears are very similar to what the Jets have been in recent years, right? So I think Aaron Glenn is going to try to allow Justin Fields to play the quarterback position. And Zabby96 in the chat on Bleacher Report says, what do you think Glenn means by having Fields like a quarterback play? So I think what Aaron Glenn means by he wants to allow Justin Fields to play quarterback, play like a quarterback. And I think what he means by that is you go back into his time in Pittsburgh and even his time in Chicago, Justin Fields just did everything he was asked. And I think what Aaron Glenn is bringing up is he doesn't feel like the NFL coaches in Chicago and Pittsburgh built a system and gave Justin Fields a real opportunity to go into his strengths. And I think that's what he means. And Justin Fields was even asked about that in the press conference. Like, hey, Aaron Glenn said that he wants to kind of let you play the quarterback position and not just be a runner, right? And I think Justin Fields even said himself, like, listen, I'm a guy that just listens to whatever the coaches say and I execute. And I put the team above myself. And I feel like that's something that you want to hear from a quarterback. It's not about me. It's all about the team first. And I think that's what Aaron Glenn is talking about. He wants the Jets offense to be catered around Justin Fields to allow him to throw the ball, be comfortable, open it up. And I think what that means too is not limit Justin Fields to be like, we'll put Fields in a box because he can only do this. And that's the only thing he's good at. So that's the only thing we're going to allow him to do. I think what the Jets offensive coaching staff and Aaron Glenn, what they're going to try to do here is open it all up, allow Fields to struggle in areas that he's not necessarily great in so he can learn from and maybe improve his game in those areas. And I think that's what Aaron Glenn means by we want him to start playing the quarterback position like a pure quarterback. At least that's how I interpret it, because I think that at the end of the day, you look at what Justin Fields was able to accomplish with his time in Chicago and his time in Pittsburgh. Talking about Pittsburgh real quick, the Pittsburgh Steelers had an offense built with Arthur Smith, year 2 offensive coordinator. They brought in Russell Wilson. They traded for Justin Fields, and the offense wasn't built for Justin Fields, right? The system wasn't because we have a new dual threat at quarterback. Obviously, they tweaked some things when Fields went out there at the QB position, but it never really was for Fields. And I think what the Jets are going to do with the first-year offensive coordinator, they're going to build an offense that is all about Justin Fields. And I think opening up his ability to try new things, allow him to throw the ball a little bit more. Maybe we'll see 25, 30, 35 pass attempts sometimes. When you look at Fields' career log, he doesn't throw the ball in terms of volume because that's a quote-unquote weakness of his game. So maybe this Jets regime is going to allow Justin Fields to struggle a little bit and open it up. And the offensive line is set from 4 to 5. 4 out of the 5 offensive linemen is pretty much set up for success, with Olu Fashanu, our first-round pick last year, entering his sophomore season. John Simpson, Elijah Vera Tucker, both entering contract years at left guard and right guard. And then Joe Tippmann, of course, locked up long-term on his rookie contract. He has 2 more years under contract with the New York Jets at the center position. And then the big question is that right tackle spot, of course. Armand Membu is a big target for the Jets in the NFL draft that I'm sure we'll talk about in this show. So I feel like Justin Fields is very excited, number one, about being reunited with the Ohio State boys. You look at, what he said about Garrett Wilson and Jeremy Ruckert and Josh Myers. He did not want to forget as well. So I really do feel like Garrett Wilson being here, it's an old friend of his, of course, and I'm really excited to see that connection. I feel like it's going to be really dynamic, and I'm not expecting Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields to be one of the best quarterback wide receiver connections in the league next year, because trust me, there's a lot better quarterback and receiver options in the NFL, and not just me being a non-biased Jets fan, right? I'm trying not to be biased here. I can sit here and be like, yeah, dude, Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, they're about to be the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the league. Listen, it's possible, but I understand where they're at. I do think that Garrett Wilson, his talent is really going to be able to get the most out of Justin Fields. And I think that's important. I think Garrett Wilson is going to be able to benefit Justin Fields rather than the other way around. I don't think Justin Fields, at least we don't know yet, is going to be able to help unlock Garrett Wilson's game a little bit more. Maybe they are going to take some things from Ohio State. And that's another thing I've noticed too. When Aaron Glenn speaks on Justin Fields, he always says, like, go look at his time at Ohio State, because in Ohio State, Justin Fields was throwing the ball very efficiently, very aggressive down the field, looked like a pure passer, that was not an issue in Ohio State. He threw the ball very well at Ohio State. So I think the Jets are going to try to take that Ohio State version of Justin Fields and replicate it here with the New York Jets. It's obvious that it's easier said than done, right? I mean, it's not going to be an easy task for the Jets to do this, but I think they have the resources and they have the trust and they have the confidence in themselves to do just that. And Aaron Glenn had something interesting to say that I wanted to talk about as well last week, that, he's not worried about Super Bowls or playoffs yet. The first thing he's trying to do is establish a culture here. And I think that is the first thing you got to do if you are a brand new coach of the New York Jets, right? You can't go out there and start being like, yeah, dude, we have aspirations for the Super Bowl. We have aspirations for winning the division, like baby steps, right? And I think that is what Aaron Glenn is bringing to this Jets football team, is trying to establish something new, trying to establish an identity that we have lacked for a long, long time. So I feel like that's how I look at it. As a Jets fan, to be excited about that, this Jets team is trying to build from the ground up, and that starts with Mr. Aaron Glenn himself. And I feel like Aaron Glenn, his mindset is infectious, and I think that's something to be excited about. And this is the quote right here. It says, Aaron Glenn's first goal is building a culture, not playoffs or Super Bowls. And some people are taking this and be like, dude, what? Like, don't box yourself in. Like, you got to have high aspirations, right? But I'm not taking it that way. I feel like this is a positive personally, because I think that Aaron Glenn has a very good understanding that this football team has lacked an identity and lacked a culture for a while. I mean, an absolute long, long time. And you have to start there. You need to start by building the framework, establishing an identity. And what does that mean? What does a culture mean? Right? Like, it's a set standard. It's an approach to the game. It's discipline, right? It's establishing a framework of this is who we are and this is what we expect out of you, talking to the players, right? This is the coaches establishing an identity, establishing a culture. When the players show up, they have a set list of things to accomplish in order to succeed. And I think that's what Aaron Glenn is trying to accomplish here. It's just starting, so I don't know the exact type of culture that he is trying to implement. I can tell you just by 3 press conferences, that's the only sample size I have of Aaron Glenn being a head coach of this football team. But I can tell you the one thing I know that he's trying to instill the most in this team is self-belief and confidence that they can accomplish great things. And I think that is where it all begins, is a belief in each other, a belief in yourself, and a belief as a collective. And I think that's something that the Jets have lacked for a while, where they wake up every morning and they understand on football Sunday, we're going to go out there and go and make some plays and win some football games. And I feel like it's been a long time since the Jets had that mindset. And it goes back, if you guys watched Hard Knocks when the Detroit Lions got it, there was a really cool clip of Aaron Glenn talking to the entire Detroit Lions team. And he had a message calling out every player saying, hey, I forgot which player, but he called out a player and was like, what was your record in your last year of college football before you entered the NFL? And the kid's like 14-1, right? And he's like, what did you think every time you woke up on Saturdays heading into game day? What did you believe? And the player's like, they were going to dominate. And he's like, it's time to bring that feeling back to the NFL, because all these players, most of them succeeded in college as a team, right? Not everybody goes to the college playoffs and are coming from big schools, but majority of players in college have a lot of confidence because that gets them into the NFL. So what Aaron Glenn is going to try to do here, and he did it in Detroit, he has what it takes to take something that is not good and turn it into something that's great. And the cool thing about Aaron Glenn that I love too is he has firsthand experience of this from his time with the New York Jets as a player. In 1990s, when the Jets won one football game under Rich Kotite, Aaron Glenn was starting cornerback for that team. He witnessed him get fired and Bill Parcells come in and completely turn the ship around immediately. And having firsthand experience of that as a player, I think is going to benefit Aaron Glenn, especially that he's known as a Bill Parcells disciple. He's literally known as a guy that has learned under Bill Parcells, was coached under him. Now he was under him and very good friends with him. And he's establishing himself. And every time someone asks Aaron Glenn about Bill Parcells, he's like, listen, I'm Aaron Glenn. Like, I take some things from Bill Parcells, but I'm my own version of myself. that I'm kind of establish my own version of being a head coach in this football league. And I think that Aaron Glenn building himself up to be a head coach has always been a grand plan of his. And it's been a lot of fun to see his development throughout his coaching career, which led to his ability to become a head coach in this league. That's very exciting. Absolutely very exciting. Now, the NFL draft is right around the corner, folks, and that's what everybody wants to talk about, I'm sure. And I feel like if you're a Jets fan, there's been a big debate within the community about this player right here, Mr. Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren, the tight end from Penn State, has been linked to the New York Jets. They've had multiple meetings with the prospect out of Penn State, and the Jets have a huge hole to fill at the tight end position. Now, the one thing I'll add is the Jets do have an opportunity here to get a tight end later on in the draft if Tyler Warren is not the guy they want. We went through the same discussion last year, Brock Bowers or an offensive lineman. The Jets decided to go with Olu Fashanu, getting the offensive lineman, a Penn State player. Hey, maybe the Jets go after another Penn State player in Tyler Warren, just saying. And I think drafting Olu Fashanu last season has given the New York Jets the flexibility to be able to take a big swing at Tyler Warren. That's how I look at it. But of course, there's a big section of the fan base that prefer to go Armand Membu, which I completely understand. I mean, I'd be fully on board with Armand Membu because of his ability to lock down the right side of the offensive line for the foreseeable future. And I think if you look at what Armand Membu brings to the table as a prospect coming from Missouri, he provides a lot. I mean, an absolute rock at that position. Did not give up a single sack last year in college football. He's somebody that you can rely on. And you look at this offensive line on paper, they are completely set up. And we talked about it earlier in the show. Olu Fashanu at left tackle, John Simpson at left guard, Joe Timmon at center, and then we got AVT at right guard. All four of those offensive linemen are very good. I mean, they're not elite. I think some of them have upside to be elite. Olu has potential to be elite. I still believe Elijah Vera Tucker has that upside to be elite. And I'm going to say right here, Joe Tippmann has a chance to be elite in this league. Now, I may be getting a little ahead of myself here, but Joe Tippmann, second-round pick, was one of the best rookie centers in the league his rookie season. And then last year, he showed a lot of promise in his sophomore season. And then Olu, in his limited sample size, he looked really good. Olu looked like a veteran. I mean, it's very rare you plug in a rookie tackle and he looks as polished as Olu did in his rookie season. He has so much upside. And then John Simpson, what a great free agent signing he was for the Jets last year. So you plug in Armand Membu, hypothetically, at right tackle, then all of a sudden the Jets offensive line is set up. You got your bookend tackles on rookie contracts, right? And then you got to worry about the guards for the long run because AVT and Simpson are both entering contract years. Will the Jets extend one of them and then maybe draft a replacement this year? That's another option, by the way. Like, I would not rule out the Jets going after an interior offensive lineman in the draft. Obviously not in the first round, but I could see the Jets going after an interior offensive lineman in day 2 or day 3 and have him sit behind Simpson or AVT. And if they can't re-sign John Simpson, maybe he's the guy moving forward on a rookie deal, and then you extend Elijah Vera Tucker. I mean, if there was a guy to extend out of Simpson and AVT, it's definitely AVT because of his upside in the NFL and his youth and his ability to block. I mean, obviously, and his smarts. The only problem with AVT is staying healthy. And I think his ability to stay healthy has been proven at least last year. So definitely interesting stuff. And I think there's a lot of options for this Jets football team in the NFL draft. There's some people saying, you know, what are the Jets going to do at the quarterback position? Are they going to draft a QB? Justin Fields was asked about if the Jets draft a quarterback, how would you feel about that? And he's like, listen, I mean, he says all the right things, which you love. I mean, the one thing you can trust about Justin Fields is he is going to say all the right things. He's never going to have a quote in the press conference that everybody's going to be upset with. And I think that's really, really important here. So definitely a big-time shout-out to Justin Fields for being a pro's pro, if you will. And I think that's a plus, number one. And then the other options for the Jets in the NFL draft, of course, is going to be the quarterback position. And let's go deeper into that. Will the Jets go after a guy like Jackson Dart? And the Jets have been linked to Jackson Dart for a while now, but my gut right now is telling me that he's not going to be a Jet. And I know that's not a bold take here. I think a lot of people will agree that he does not seem like he's going to end up with the Jets. Adam Schefter actually came out with a post yesterday about the update on the teams that have visited with Jackson Dart and teams that are very interested in him in particular. And the Jets were not listed as one of those teams. Here is the post from Adam Schefter yesterday. He says, sources, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart visited today with the Cleveland Browns, and he's next up to visit with the Las Vegas Raiders. Dart also spent considerable time during this interview process with the Giants, Saints, and Rams. So the Jets obviously were not listed there, so it does not seem like the Jets have done extensive deep dive on Jackson Dart. Of course, that does not mean the Jets are not going to draft him, but that is something to keep in mind. A quarterback that the Jets did do some homework on, which I think is very interesting to note here, that I definitely wanted to talk about with you guys, is Tyler Show. Now, that is an interesting discussion right here. And another one is Jalen Milroe. Now, this one is interesting because Jordan Schultz tweeted out that Jalen Milroe had private workouts with the Saints and Browns. That was impressive. He also had key members of the Jets offensive staff and the Steelers prior to his pro day last month. So the Jets were at his pro day, and they had key members of the offensive staff meet and talk with Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is very interesting because he brings an element of, like, I don't want to say he's exactly the same, but he brings that same feel as Justin Fields, mobile, but can't really throw the ball well. That's the prospect of Jalen Milroe. Super athletic, can absolutely take the top off the defense from a running the football perspective. So could the Jets go after Jalen Milroe in the mid-rounds? That would be definitely a crazy swing for this Jets team to take a swing on Jalen Milroe. I was at the Senior Bowl. I was not super impressed with him personally, but that does not mean he cannot show signs of improvement. So, I mean, he definitely looked good in the combine, but that is definitely interesting stuff there to note that the Jets have done a lot of homework on Jalen Milroe, right? And it's interesting. It really, really is. And there's a lot of people taking it, like a lot of executives, a lot of people are weighing in on where this draft is going to go. Now, I want to talk about some players that nobody is talking about that the Jets can draft, right? There's some guys here that I don't think that Jets fans are not considering that they could draft. And the first guy I want to talk about that I feel like not anybody in Jets land has linked to the New York Jets, right? I want to talk about somebody. And if you guys have anybody that you feel like we should talk about that deserves to be talked about, because I feel like there's a lot of players out there that Jets fans haven't talked about that could be drafted number 7. And the funny thing about this regime is it's brand new and we have no idea what to expect, right? And I think that's important. We don't know the tendencies of our guys, Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, yet. So one player I want to talk about is Jalen Walker, right? Jalen Walker is an interesting guy because I'm not going to sit here and say I'm pounding the table for the Jets to draft him, but there's some buzz around Jalen Walker, and he is a very good player. And I feel like if the Jets want to get another player on the defense that will be a stud, this could be that guy. I would not go this direction personally because I feel like we got Jermaine Johnson, we got Will McDonald, we got Quinton Williams. If there was a defensive draft pick in the first round, maybe Mason Graham would be ideal, but I don't know if he'll be there. I don't know. I mean, Aaron Glenn is a defensive-minded guy, and I don't know if he's going to go defense. And if there was a defensive player that could be in the mix for the Jets at this spot, it could be Jalen Walker, 100%. And that is an interesting one. And I want to get your guys' thoughts of that. Now, another player that is linked to the Jets by some Jets fans is Ted McMillan. I'm going to come out here and say I do not expect the Jets to draft Ted McMillan. I don't know if he fits what the Jets are trying to do scheme-wise. Like, I think the Jets are going to prioritize this element of speed in the draft. So, like, Matthew Golden makes a little bit more sense than Ted McMillan if you're going to go in the first round, but I don't think McMillan or Golden is worth the 7th overall pick. You got to trade down, in my opinion, if you're going to go that direction. So, there's a lot of options on the table for the Jets, but boy, oh boy, do the Jets have an opportunity to really add some talent to this team right away in the NFL draft. You saw their approach in free agency. You saw their approach now we're going to see their approach in the NFL draft. And I'm really excited to see what Aaron Glenn is capable of, because building a culture starts with getting the right players in-house. And I feel like one thing that Aaron Glenn said in the press conference that stuck with me as well is that he's telling his coaching staff that he wants them take on the free agency class and mimic that they're like a draft class. And what he means by that is that's the idea of establishing a framework and identity. All the free agent signings that we brought in, Justin Fields, Brandon Stevens, Tyler Johnson, Stone Small, all these guys that we brought in, he wants to embrace them as draft picks because he wants them to develop into the system and become long-term Jets. Draft picks are already long-term just because you're committed to them to 4 years max. Well, not max. 4 years guaranteed for every draft pick under contract, at least, until you want to cut or release them or trade them, of course. But I think that's a very interesting perspective of the free agency class that the Jets brought in, is holding them accountable and using them with the mindset of draft picks. I really do like that 110%. So I feel like what Aaron Glenn is trying to establish here is an identity and a culture that embodies development. And I also noticed that Aaron Glenn said multiple times that he wants to keep players with the Jets long-term. He wants to draft, develop, and extend their own. Now, what does that mean for guys like Sauce Gardner? What does that mean for guys like Garrett Wilson? Now, the latest that I'm hearing is that we're expected to get deeper into those negotiations with Garrett Wilson after the draft. Now, not directly after. It's not like, all right, draft is done. Now extend Garrett Wilson. I think that's going to be something that happens throughout time. I really do. I'm not expecting the Jets to all of a sudden extend Garrett by, June. I think that's going to be something to work out as training camp progresses. And listen, we all want Garrett Wilson here long-term. I mean, you're talking to the number one Garrett Wilson fan in the world right here. I really do love Garrett Wilson. If you guys know me personally, you know how much I love Garrett Wilson. So I think Garrett Wilson getting extended long-term is a necessity. And I think that this regime would be smart enough to give him that bag ASAP. And I really hope they do. Especially look at the roster right now. Who is on this roster that we're comfortable with at the wide receiver position besides Garrett Wilson? And newsflash, is nobody. Malachi Corley has upside, but come on, folks. What are we even doing here? Now, Garrett Wilson is one story. Now, Sauce Gardner is another one. What to expect from Sauce Gardner, right? I feel like Sauce Gardner, we saw Derek Stingley get paid. We saw J.C. Horn get paid. And now Sauce is next. Sauce is next up to get paid. And I think that if the Jets are smart, you lock up Sauce and Garrett Wilson long-term this summer before the season begins, because I think that is going to set a standard and identity right away for the Jets immediately. Now, one player that I want to flag real quick that's on the Jets that could be a potential holdout watch, that I don't want this to happen, but based off of, reading between the lines here, a potential holdout could be from Quincy Williams. And the reason I say that is because Quincy Williams, he went out there and posted on Twitter after the last game of the season, show me the money. Because you look at his contract, he's a little bit underpaid, if you ask me. And now Jamie Sherwood just got paid the big bucks. And Quincy Williams got paid by Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. This is a new regime. I'm sure he's going to want to uptick in pay. He's entering a contract year. He's going to want to get extended. And he may hold out. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want that to happen. But I want to definitely flag that as an opportunity for the Jets to keep in mind for that. So that's really that, folks. But at the end of the day, a lot of exciting things happening with the Jets. And the first thing that is exciting is, of course, the Jets having their offseason program begin. And I think the Jets having their offseason program begin is firing me up. And if it's not firing you up, I don't know what to tell you, folks. I really don't. You look at what this Jets team is capable of in last year, getting 5 wins. You see what they're capable of 2 years ago. What was it? 7 wins with no quarterback. And now delete all that from your memory. There's a brand new team here, a brand new identity being established, new coach, new GM, new quarterback. That is everything. That's the 3 things you need in order to succeed in the NFL. A good coach, a good general manager, and a good quarterback. And the Jets got a brand new QB, GM, and head coach all in the same offseason. So there's a sense of change here with the New York Jets. A complete reset of a mindset with this Jets football team, which is exciting. It should really excite you. Not to say like it's guaranteed it's going to succeed, but it's fresh, right? It's new. It's not redundant. It's not like we're stuck in this purgatory mess. That's my biggest nightmare, is being stuck in purgatory. What that means is you're just good enough not to be good enough. You're just getting just to the playoffs, like the Miami Dolphins, for example. They're in purgatory, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a hater of the Dolphins as a Jets fan, but they are in purgatory because they got a quarterback that is capped out. You know what he is. A head coach that, they're just stuck. The Patriots, they're on the rise. They're not in purgatory. They have reset. They got a new head coach. They got a rising quarterback. They're retooling. The Bills are the team that we want to become, right? The Buffalo Bills are 6-7 years in with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen together. You want to establish a continuity that they've had the same head coach, the same quarterback, and the same GM for all these years, which establish an identity, establish a culture. So what the Jets are trying to do is just that. We want Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji linked at the hip for the next 5+ seasons. And ideally Justin Fields, but I'm not going to say that needs to happen because I think there's still a world where Justin Fields doesn't work out, but then Glenn and Muji find their franchise quarterback elsewhere. But Justin Fields could still be the guy. So, yeah. Bleacher Report. We're going to end it off here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on Bleacher Report. We're going to sign off here. See you guys next week. All right, folks. That's the end of the show on Bleacher Report. We ended it on Bleacher Report. And now I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat real quick. Ask me, am I going to the Jets draft party? And by the way, if you're wondering why I'm not interacting with the chat in this show, it's because on Wednesdays, I'm live on Bleacher Report at the same time as YouTube. So I don't want to interact with the chat on YouTube when I'm also live on Bleacher Report. But now I ended my show on Bleacher Report, and now I'm back on YouTube. Victor, I'm not going to the Jets draft party. Do you want to know why I'm not going? Because I'm going to the NFL draft. Roundtable Sports got approved for NFL credentials yesterday, and I will be in attendance at the NFL draft covering it for you guys. Breaking news. I have not announced it yet on social media. I announced it this morning on my show, but I'm not going to be at the Jets draft party. I will be in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Covering it for Roundtable Sports, which is very, very exciting. Very, very exciting. So, yeah, that's that news. But, yeah, folks, I appreciate you guys all tuning in to the show. I'm going to have to wrap up here. How will I react to the draft picks? I don't know. This is going to be a different, unique feel. It may be it's definitely going to be difference of how I'm covering the draft this year. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to react live like I have in the past, but I'm going to sacrifice that for the going to the draft. I think you guys can agree, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. It's pretty freaking cool. Thoughts on Trey Harris in a possible pick? I like that, Jack, in the second round. You know, we're looking for our CB2 for the future. So we'll see. I like that idea. No doubt about it. Salute Wayne and salute everybody in the chat. And real quick before I end the show, I just want to remind you guys some personal news. I am going on vacation tomorrow. I will be in Costa Rica with my family, flying out first thing in the morning. So we shall see if I'll be able to make content there. Most likely not going to be as consistent as I usually am, but maybe I'll do some live shows from there, and you guys can see me in the rainforest next to a volcano, right? That would be crazy. So, yes, that's some personal news. I'm flying out first thing tomorrow morning. So, yeah, bear with me on content this week. But then right when I get back from Costa Rica, I'm booking a flight and going right to Green Bay, Wisconsin for the NFL draft to get you guys all the content you need. So, salute to everybody. I love all the support that you guys show consistently on Jets Media. It means the world to me. You guys have no idea. Thank you guys so much. I love you guys so much. As always, I'm going to end the show here so I can pack for my trip. See you guys later. Peace out.